Welcome to Extension Connection on Super Talk 1270. Thoughtful information and discussion with experts from both Burleigh and Morton County Extension Service offices. Extension Connection provides advice on family nutrition, issues in agriculture, lawn and garden, community leadership, homeowner concerns, and so much more. Live from the Super Talk 1270 studio, this is Extension Connection.
Welcome to the Extension Connection, and we have the Morton County Extension staff here today. This is Jackie Buckley, we have Vanessa Hoynes, and Carla Mickle. And Carla, what are you going to talk about today?
I'm going to talk all about camp, 4-H camp. We were just up there Monday unloading bunks. Things are looking in pretty good shape. We've got a long way left to go. Camp starts in a week and a half, but we're going to talk all about camp.
Good deal.
And how about you, Vanessa?
I'm going to talk about some upcoming programs I have. I have a program for kids who want to be babysitters, to give them some skills to get started for the summer. I also have a program on nourishing your skin that we're going to be holding next week. And then I also have a series on a series for caregivers. And so we'll talk a little bit about that series also.
Okay. And I'm going to talk about, first of all, we are live in the studio today. And so if you have questions, please feel free to call 663-1270. And the first thing that I'm going to visit with about may cause some interest to our homeowners that might be listening. And if you are a Facebook user, you may have seen this already on Facebook because I posted it last night. And we're getting a lot of calls, especially after the frost, and there's some concern about your rhubarb. And I posted a news article from the University of Illinois Extension that was posted or put on in 2014. So it's pretty recent as far as what they're saying. And if your rhubarb was froze on Monday night, which we had low record temperatures of 25 degrees here in Bismarck, Mandan. Mm-hmm. I don't know, other parts of the state may have had something colder.
And also depending on how low.
Yes, on how low. And if you did not cover your rhubarb, you need to go out and check it, especially if you think that you're going to pick some and eat it. If you have leaf damage, the leaf of the rhubarb is always poisonous. It contains oxalic acid, which can be very bad for a lot of our vital organs. And so if you have leaf damage, or if you see blackening or spots on the leaf margins, there is some issues that oxalic acid could be moving into the stalk or the stem or the edible part that we eat. And if the stems or the edible part that we eat, if they are not real stiff or if they're soft and mushy, which we should see that by now because it's 2 days afterwards, mm-hmm. two days hence, if there's frost damage and if those stalks are like squishy, limp, I would suggest that you not eat that rhubarb.
So, I mean, basically, Jackie, it's like if you go out there and check your rhubarb and if it's not the quality that you would normally eat, don't.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, because I think all of us have had, things have happened, whether it was a storm and we've had hail, that kind of thing, and get damaged rhubarb, if it's all beat up and limp, and we don't eat it.
Yes. And
Same thing goes with frost.
Yes. And so if you have that situation, just take a little precaution. Take and pull all that rhubarb out. I mean that's how I cut mine. I don't cut it. They're supposed to pull it and not cut
gently.
Gently pull so that it releases from the root itself, the crown of the plant, and then pull that and throw that away. And it's plenty cool. In about 2 weeks, we'll have more rhubarb. Mm-hmm. And so
it's not done.
It's not done. Yes, it's not like it's the end of the world or whatever, that we will still get more rhubarb because we're usually good that we can eat it most of June. And so we have another whole month where we can still get lots of rhubarb. So please be aware of that. And so I just wanted to talk real briefly about that this morning because we're getting lots of calls because I posted this information last night on Facebook and it's like it's gone viral. I've never had anything go viral before. And so
Except maybe a cold.
Yeah. And so if you're interested or have more questions, feel free to call us here at the station, 663-1270, or call our office at 667-3340. And we'll also post more information or this information on our Facebook page and our website as well. And so, Vanessa, maybe we'll change subjects here. I have more for later, but I know that you have an engagement to go to.
So we're gonna leave the rhubarb controversy and go on to something else, and I'm sure that people will be soon stalking you to learn more about rhubarb. Yes. Okay. Well, things coming up. I have. For if you know any kids that are between the ages of 11 and 15, I will be offering some babysitting workshops. And the days are Wednesday, June 3rd, Thursday, June 25th, or Tuesday, June 30th. And they only have to attend one. It's most of the day from 9:30 to 3 o'clock. And we cover everything from what you need to know about developing a babysitting business. We talk about how to keep the babysitter safe, as well as the children that they're taking care of safe. We go over some basic child care and child development things. We talk about what you want to, how you want to entertain the little ones that you're in charge of. We also go through some basic first aid so that the kids have an opportunity to learn about what they can handle on their own. And then we also have a police officer that will come in and visit with us about when we need to ask for help from someplace else. When's the appropriate time to call 911? In this age of a lot of homes don't have a landline telephone. So for those of you that are asking kids to come babysit, make sure that you do leave a phone at home for them to use in case they don't have a cell phone. Don't count on them having that. And so we talk about that too, so that they know where they are, know how to contact somebody in the case of an emergency. Registration is $25, and that includes they get lots of materials, a book, and then the whole day's training in addition to that. So we'd love to have you call us and register. You can, if none of those dates work, we will put you on a waiting list because we still may have workshops later this summer. But these will be the first 3 to get us started. So if you have a up-and-coming sitter, and I know they're hard to find sometimes. So if you have a youth who's interested, and even if you don't think that they're quite ready to do this will be a good start. And we'll talk about how to get their business started and where to begin so that they don't just jump into the deep end of the pool right away. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with some other programs we have coming up with the NDSU Extension Service.
Right now it's 54.
Our own radio station. Not Fargo, not the Twin Cities. Proud to be Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
Hi, and we're back with the NDSU Extension Service, the Extension Connection. This is the Morton County staff here today. This is Vanessa Hoynes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a program called Powerful Tools for Caregivers. And it's a series of trainings for folks who take care of someone. And I think all of us can think of folks that we probably know that are have a caregiver role, whether it's a spouse, sometimes a sibling, sometimes a son or daughter is taking care of a parent. And in all those cases, many times that caregiver doesn't take time out for themselves, and that they need some tools and some strategies to be able to care for themselves. And I think we have to remember caregiving is definitely rewarding, but really we have to face it that caregiving also can be very stressful, both physically, emotionally, and financially. And so the Powerful Tools for Caregivers class is really designed to provide those caregivers, family caregiver, with skills that they need to take care of themselves. And it's 6 different classes, 1.5 hours long each. And we're going to be meeting every Monday beginning on June 15th. There is a registration fee of $50, which includes a very nice handbook workbook that folks will be able to take home with them. And then each week we'll be focusing on different topics, beginning with reducing stress. As I mentioned, stress is a big issue. Improving self-confidence. Sometimes when we're the caregiver, we become very isolated. We don't get out. We don't get a chance to visit with our friends or do hobbies that we used to enjoy. Take the back seat sometimes. An opportunity to talk about some strategies for balancing your life. Again, being able to carve out some time for yourself. Because, even though we want to be the best caregiver we can, many times we lose sight of the fact that if we aren't healthy and if we aren't feeling good, we're not being the best caregiver that we can be. And sometimes that means taking a break. Also a chance to learn some strategies about communication and being able to communicate your feelings, both with the person that you're caring for and other family members or other friends that you have around you. Many times people are more than willing to help you, but a lot of times we are not able to communicate what we could use help with and how they could best help us. I think all of us that have been related to or know of somebody who's doing caregiving, I think we all say, what can we do to help you? And many times we don't get a response because you just don't know what you need and how they can help you. So we'll talk about how to best utilize that help. We'll also talk about increasing the ability to make those tough decisions. As a caregiver, there does get to be a time sometimes when you have to make a decision about what the next step will be in caring for your loved one. Maybe you can't do it all anymore, and you might need to make some decisions about bringing someone else in or looking at different facilities that are in the community. And so we would help you, steer you in directions where you can find those answers and figure out what's best for you and for your family. And then I think more than anything else, it's just an opportunity to get together with other folks who are in a similar situation as you are. Begin to learn, build some of those networks and have conversations with people who understand. And as you share what's going on in your life, that they can definitely relate and can get strength from your stories as well as you getting strength from theirs. And so it's a really good time away and a lot of fun. It's kind of a heavy subject, but I think it's also an opportunity to be light and to get away and to have some fun while we're learning some new strategies.
So would you recommend this for, I guess, and you and I have talked about this previously on the radio, but, my mom takes care of my dad, even though he's so capable of doing things. There's things that mom needs to help him with. And so there's a lot of times where my sister and I feel guilty because we can't always be there for mom. So is that something that, this particular class, if you're a caregiver's daughter or son or, someone close to a caregiver, that it would be beneficial for? Because I know we've talked about that a few times. So.
And, I think anybody who, if you're the person who runs errands for someone, that you don't have to be a 24-hour caregiver in order to have this be of value for you. If you're the person who runs errands, if you're the one who brings someone to doctor's appointments, anytime when you have someone else who counts on you to do something to aid them in one way or another, you are a caregiver. And it's really for somebody from that end of the spectrum all the way to somebody who's doing 24-hour care that has somebody dependent on them all the time. So yes, it's really that whole gamut. And I think a lot of times when it is our spouse or it is our parent, we don't necessarily think about it as that we're a caregiver. We think about it as just being family.
Right.
And that's what you do.
That's what you take care of family.
Yeah, that's what a wife or a husband does. And that's what a son or a daughter does. But just because it is something that we do, because that is true, it doesn't mean that it's easy. And it doesn't mean that you don't need help in sorting through the best way to do that. And I think that connection also makes it more difficult to make those tough decisions too. because we do feel guilty
Guilty. Yep.
that if you get to a point where you feel like you can't do it anymore. And I think all of us can think of people that, if they're caring for somebody full time, that there's always a discussion about not the person who's being cared for so much, but there's worry about the caregiver, because you can see them, the emotional and the physical and the financial toll that it takes on them, and they just can't get away from it. It's kind of an oppression almost, and they don't want to feel that way either. And so I think that can help them too. So we'll be meeting every Monday starting June 15th from 1 to 2:30. So it's 90 minutes, and we'll be meeting at Edgewood Vista here in Mandan. So we'll have a beautiful facility to be in. And they are merely just hosting us, and so that's nice of them to let us be there and spend some time. So if you are interested in this, or if you know of somebody who would be interested, you can give us a call at 667-3340. You can also check our website and our Facebook page, because there's also information out there about that. So so if you know of anybody that could use some information about caregiving, let us know. Next, I have a program coming up next week on May 27th. Let me check. That's a Wednesday. So exactly a week from today. I'm going to be doing a program at 10 a.m. About nourishing your skin. Actually, nourishing your skin and your skin health is actually being celebrated in May, which I think is perfect, because we're also kind of making our way into summer when we need to protect our skin a little bit more. And so we'll talk about things that we can do to protect our skin, both things we can put on the top of our skin, and then also things that we can eat that can help to protect our skin in addition to that. And then we'll also talk about some things to be aware of when it comes to skin cancer. I think a lot of times, cancer is in the news a lot, unfortunately. But skin cancer, we might not realize, is actually the most common form of cancer in the United States. And so you are more likely to get skin cancer than anything else. And it is so preventable. And that's the piece that we have to be aware of, is that we can protect our skin and prevent us from getting cancer by doing that. And I think even more importantly, young people, they have found that youth who get burns prior to turning 19, that those are in fact the folks who have greater chance. So that skin damage early in life is even more damaging as you get older. You have a more risk of developing cancer. And so what are the risk factors for those who are more likely to get skin cancer? Some of them are related to, for example, a lighter natural skin color. We're more susceptible for skin cancer. If you have somebody in your family or personal history of skin cancer, would also be a higher risk. If you've had excessive sun exposure. And so if we have any producers that are listening today, obviously anybody who spends a lot of time outside, you are at greater risk for skin cancer, and another good reason to protect yourself every day. Even if you're in a cab or a car, whatever it might be, those windows do not protect you from the damaging rays of the sun. And so we need to be mindful of that. And then if somebody who has multiple moles and those kinds of discolorations of their skin are also more susceptible to cancer. And so in talking about it, just in general, when you are out and about, it would be a good idea to just get in the habit of using some type of a moisturizer every day on your face and hands, anything that's out all the time that has an SPF. Usually we're talking about an SPF of 30 or higher, but many of those you can find over-the-counter moisturizers that have that. And especially for men and those producers that we're talking about, if you're going to be outside all the time, just getting in the habit of automatically putting that on in the morning, that it's just like putting your hat on, that you just do that. It's just a part of brush your teeth, put your moisturizer on, and you're good to go. You're going to be protecting at least a little bit more than you might otherwise. Some other things to keep in mind are, being in the shade as much as you can, using long sleeve shirts if you can to keep as much skin protected as you can, wearing that hat, wide brimmed hat of some kind, and then using that sunscreen and making sure that you reapply. And so with that, we will take a break and we'll be back with information about camp. And I don't know if the Rhubarb Queen is going to talk too.
Right now it's 54.
You're never more than a few minutes from a weather update here on Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to the Extension Connection, and Vanessa's walking out the door. And
We're chatting.
Yes. And so Carla and I will be here for the remainder of the program. And Carla, you want to visit about 4-H camp?
Yep. We were out there Monday, very exciting day. We received a trailer full. It was a huge semi-trailer full of bunk beds and the new mattresses and the new cabin furniture. And so we're very excited about that. We did put bunks together in one of the cabins. Looks really nice.
Yes, they're very nice.
Yeah.
And the bunks are designed so that you don't need a ladder, especially those that are in Sunrise.
Yep.
Or for those of you that are familiar with the camp, it's the one that's on the east side of the row of cabins. And so those are all up and ready to go.
Looks so nice.
It looks so nice.
Yep.
And they're also, what's unique about what is going to be nice, I guess I think it's going to be nice that there's some double beds.
Yes.
And so those of us that are in adults, there's a double bed on the bottom and then a single on the top. And so I think that adults that will be staying at camp will really appreciate that design feature.
I don't mind the extra room.
No, I don't either.
I can sprawl out.
Especially coming when I sleep in a king size bed.
Yep.
And so that makes a big difference when you go to a single. And so, yeah, and there's camp is starting to shape up.
Yep.
We are working on the grant thing.
Yes.
On the butterfly garden.
Yep.
And we'll be putting down some wood mulch on the walking path, which will help with the wood tick population, hopefully.
Thank goodness, because you know how much I love wood ticks.
Yes.
Yep, we're working on the butterfly garden, a natural terrace garden that we're putting in up by the inspirational area now. It used to be called the chapel. And very excited for that. We're going to put in a retaining wall. And we have McLean County Soil Conservation, a gentleman, Roberto. He's helping design what we're going to put into that garden, all natural plants and flowers to North Dakota. And then I have to make a call to Morton County Soil Conservation, ask some questions too, because I hear they have a couple things that might be able to help us out. So reshingling the little inspirational area. And of course, we're moving back into the kitchen today, or tomorrow. We're going to start doing that.
Okay.
So we're going to clean out that storage unit that we have and start putting things back into the kitchen after we do a thorough cleaning. And hopefully be ready for camp when it opens here in a week and a half. I'm a little nervous.
I think all of us are, Carla,
Yeah.
so hopefully things will be ready to go. And because your camp is first.
Yes.
Usually it's mine that's first, and
Yes.
yours is first this year. So
We'll see how it goes. We do have a couple camps, so pretty exciting camping season here before us. We have a couple camps that are full. The Clover Camp, which Vanessa actually chairs, that camp is full. And I did hear, even though I didn't get confirmation, that Just Starting to Ride, Wish I Had a Horse Camp has 22 participants. So I believe that camp is considered full as well. Some other camps that are nearing capacity are the Military Youth Camp 1 and 2, 4-H Adventure Camps. Those are not full, but they're in that 45 to 50 range as well. So a lot of really great camps still open. There still is time. You can register through today to receive that discount, the early bird discount we have for the June camps. It is $25 off of what the regular fee is. And if you're looking at July camps, you actually have until July 1st to receive that discount at $25 off of your camp registration. It requires a deposit of $50, and the remaining balance is to be paid no later than 2 weeks before the camp start date. Again, the first camp of the season is the Outdoor Skills Camp and the Bullseye All Archery Camp. And very fun, filled, busy week, and we're going to do all kinds of different events with outdoor skills. We're going to learn how to build a fire. We're going to do some muzzle loading, shotgun, archery, air rifle. We're going to go fishing a day out at Nelson Lake. And just really fun week. I'm looking forward to it, except for the wood ticks. But.
Yeah.
So, and then I know your camp is the second week, and you've been busy preparing for that. And you have a few guest speakers coming for your camp.
Yes, and Lisa Peterson, she's our beef quality assurance person. She's going to be coming to talk about the right place to give vaccinations, care of your animals, if you're giving a vaccination, the withdrawal time for some of the drugs that you're using. And she will have hands-on experience for the kids.
Cool.
'Cause as an example, last year, she bought cupcakes.
Okay.
And there was good cupcakes and there was bad cupcakes. And by bad cupcakes, she had injected mustard into some of them. And so the kids didn't know which ones had been injected with the mustard. And so they had the opportunity to taste them.
Okay.
And so this all goes back to giving your vaccinations and your injections in the right spot and making sure that your meat is safe in using it in the right location. And then we're also having Dr. Jerry Stucca come. And Jerry is our extension veterinarian and then also our livestock stewardship specialist. He kind of has a dual role. And Jerry will be talking about veterinary use or how to take care of your animal before you go to the fair, making sure they're free of all diseases. And then he's going to talk about livestock stewardship and making sure we take good care of our animals, which, you know, those show animals, they probably live better than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of them, they have a special barn. They're fed at the right time, at a certain time. They're washed every day. So they really get some special care. And so Jerry's going to talk about that. And another thing that he is going to be talking about is biosecurity. And when we talk about biosecurity, we're talking about to make sure that you're using the right practices on your farm or with your animals, making sure that you don't share equipment, as an example, with another person. Maybe that animal, as an example, especially exhibitors that may have market lambs. There's a fungal disease called club lamb fungus. It's a really bad ringworm. And so you don't want to use the same clipper on your animal and then if you have club lamb fungus and give it to somebody else and somebody else use that clipper. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm actually going to have some disinfectant there so that people will be able to disinfect their equipment to make sure that they don't. And I visited with Jerry a little bit about that. And then if you're going to different farms, making sure that you wear some plastic boots. This has really come to light, especially with the avian influenza that has been out there and has destroyed billions of dollars of economy for our poultry producers in Iowa, Minnesota, and then southeastern North Dakota as well. And so we're going to be visiting about that, and I think that's important to cover so that these kids know what some of the repercussions could be if they're not careful.
Yeah, very eye-opening for those kids to be able to understand. And then, like you said, with the avian flu right now, being able to relate that to something that's currently going on and understand.
Right, yes. And so, yeah, so those two speakers I'll have for sure. And then maybe a couple other ones. Jim Hennessy is going to be at my camp. I'm excited to see Jim. I haven't seen him for a while. And he's going to give a fitting demonstration for the beef people. And so we're excited to have Jim to come and help. And he's always a barrel of fun. The guys really like to have Jim around. And so depends on how big of a basketball fan you are. If he plays basketball, I don't know how in shape he is.
Yep.
So, yes, there's lots of things going on at my camp as well.
Yep. Other camps that you can look forward to during the summer, of course, we've got the Horse Camp 1 and 2. Again, the Clover Camp is full. There are a lot of other great camps, though. Survivor Outdoor Recreation Camp. If you're a chef, I am not. There's You're the Chef Boot Camp. I'll be the first one to admit I am not a cook or a chef. And but you can learn a lot of really great skills, and that's July 26th through the 30th. I would go to that camp, but it's the week of our fair.
You should go, Carl. I think you should go to that. Because, she is right. She is admitting she does not like to really cook.
Yep. I admitted the other day on Facebook I am no Betty Crocker. And then we ended the summer with a fiber arts camp and then an outdoor lab, a science camp. And so those are 2 new camps that we're offering this year. Some great fun. And I encourage you, if you've not already checked out 4-H camp, you can go to ndsu.edu/4H/camp. And there's all kinds of wonderful information there. And we would happy to answer any questions for you at the office as well. You can call 667-3340, and still a lot of great camps open. So,
Yep.
one other thing I'd like to mention here quickly is Jim signaling that we're down to a couple minutes before break, is we are raising some money for, of course, camp and all the new furnishings, because we did have 3 new buildings added to camp, which 3 new buildings means additional furniture. And so we need some furniture and supplies. And so if you're interested in learning more about the Paving the Way to a New Destiny campaign, which is a campaign for indoor and outdoor furnishings, equipment, and program amenities at the North Dakota 4-H camp near Washburn, I encourage you to contact our office or the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. Meredith Gilroy is our executive director of the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. She's been working very hard at getting some funds for us so that we can have new beds and not put the old ones in, the old heavy ones too.
Yeah.
And get some new equipment and our furnishings so that we have a place where it's comfortable and the kids have a great place to do some learning as well. So again, if you're interested, Morton County 4-H Council, we donated $1,000 to the Paving the Way to a New Destiny campaign. And we've had some clubs pledging $100 as well. And I've had some folks give me some checks for $100 to go toward the campaign for our furnishings. So very exciting time.
Yes, and so if you are a former 4-H member, we would surely encourage 4-H alumni to make sure that they are, if they would be interested in donating to camp, that would be really a great asset to make sure that our camp is fully furnished when we get started. And as the years go on, this is something that is going to be, because I went to camp when I was young, and so since the mid 60s the camp has been there, and so it's quite a tradition in our 4-H world. And actually, this is the only 4-H camp in North Dakota, and so we want to make sure that we get it up to snuff and be proud of this location. And Jim is signaling us with our background music that it's time to go for a break. And we'll be back with the Extension Connection in just a few minutes.
Right now, it's 61.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
We are back with the Extension Connection, and Carla and Jackie are here. Like I said, we are live in the studio today, and so if you have any questions, please feel free to call us, 663-1270. And so I might get corrected. Sid will probably be calling now.
And, we were talking before about rhubarb. So if you have a question about rhubarb and you want to call and ask Jackie a question, chances are if you're thinking it, someone else is too. So call, and then we can cover a whole broad audience today.
Right. So. And so, yes, call 663-1270. Another thing is that, the frost has made lots of news this week. And the questions have come about the temperatures and what it's doing to some of our field crops. And temperatures below 32 degrees will cause the water in the plant cells to freeze. And actually that is what happens. That's why we get the plant damage, is that the cells in the plant are very high in water. And when temperatures get below 32 degrees, those cells burst. When we have cold, they expand. Like when you put things in your freezer, you notice that things expand. You put a gallon of milk in there, and the jug gets bigger. Well, and that doesn't seem like it could be possible. But anyway, those cells freeze, and the result, the ice crystals will kill any cells by damaging the cell membrane systems. How different crop species react to freezing temperature depends on where the growth is taking place, where the growing points are, and if the cells have built-in antifreeze systems to prevent ice crystal formation. Also, some varieties of different plants are more susceptible or more resistant to frost. Seedlings hardened by continuous low light and day temperatures are more resistant than seedlings hardened by alternating high and low day night temperatures. And so actually we did not have the high day and low night temperatures. We've basically been very cool. And so all the plants or the crops that have been up should be pretty well hardened in. There are considerable, like I said, variety differences in all crops, and no research has been done on the varieties we are currently growing. Corn plants less than 6 to 8 inches tall, or the 5th leaf stage or less, will recover from frost because the growing point is still below the soil surface and usually not damaged. Historically, there is very few cornfields that have been destroyed by spring freezes, and so we shouldn't have to worry about any corn at all. The spring grains, we won't have to worry about them either. They may freeze off some of the leaves, but they will come back because their growing point is also below ground. The thing that producers need to be aware of with your spring grains is the fact that when you go to make a herbicide application, many of the herbicide applications, you have to check and see what leaf stage that it's safe to make that herbicide application to that crop. And so you may notice, and as you start counting your leaves, that some of the leaves may have been destroyed by the frost. And so the first and the second leaf may be gone or wilted away, and you may not see that. And so you, instead of starting over, like you start 1, 2, 3, 4, alternating across the plant, you might have to start with 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first and second leaf may be gone. And so you need to be aware of that when you're making your herbicide applications. Environmental conditions before or immediately after low temperature greatly influence the extent of freezing injury. If the temperature drop is gradual, plants are in better condition to resist injury and can stand surprisingly low temperatures. Similarly, slow rising temperatures after frost and satisfactory soil moisture conditions, which we had a lot of moisture, are desirable to aid recovery. Drought, high wind, and high evaporation are likely to aggravate the frost injury and lessen the chances of recovery. Our cereal grains will lose leaf tissue that freezes. And so I've already talked about that. Broadleaf crops that have their growing point at the top of the plant are more susceptible to frost damage than our grass species. Soybeans, for example, are quite sensitive to frost. I don't think there's a lot of soybeans in the ground here yet in the in the south central part of the state. And if they are in the ground, they probably have not germinated and are not out of the ground yet. Soybeans may leaf out again after a light frost from auxiliary buds in the leaf axil. One of these branches will then become the main axis of the plant, and if the first growing point is killed. Dicotyledonous plants such as sugar beet, sunflower, soybean, dry bean, canola, and flax are more easily killed by frost than are small grains. Sunflower in the cotyledon stage, which that means is that as those two leaves come out of the ground, may often withstand temperatures as low as 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunflower in the 2, 4, 6 true leaf stage becomes more sensitive to frost and bud damage may occur. And so we're pretty sure that we don't have any sunflowers actually that big already. Flax is quite sensitive when it is first coming out of the ground. It can, in some cases, tolerate temperatures down to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. If it has a couple of true leaves. Depends on some growth conditions the previous couple days. Check to see if the stem is turning black. After two-leaf stage and hardened off, it can stand temps in the low 20s, and so flax is quite frost tolerant. Alfalfa will be damaged by temperatures in the mid-20s. Growth of the alfalfa is from the tip of the stem. With frost damage, the top will bend over and the growth of the tip will cease. Plan to take the first harvest as soon as the field dries enough for good equipment performance. Temperatures of 32 degrees Fahrenheit and below will kill buckwheat, dry beans, and temperatures of 29 to 30 degrees for soybeans, while alfalfa, canola, cranberry, flax, and sugar beet will tolerate temperatures in the mid-20s. Many of the broadleaf all of the broadleaf crops have their growing point or their terminal bud at the top of the plant and are more susceptible to our cereal species. So if you have more questions about the frost damage that we may have had on Monday night, also last night, please be watching your crops to make sure that they're going to be okay. Hopefully we're not going to have to do any reseeding. That would be not a good thing. Also, I had a horticulture meeting in New Salem last night. We had about 50 ladies there, 50 ladies, and let me see, we just had two gentlemen, and they enjoyed the activities that we had for them. And thank you, April Ulster, once again for bringing the plants and donating a plant to each of the participants. And I think they had a really nice time. We learned about all the new annuals that are out there and the new perennials. And then April also talked about fairy gardens, which is something that a lot of people like to try on them. And she sold quite a few of those types of plants. And then she also brought some vegetables, and so she had lots of different kinds of peppers. And she informed us that peppers are kind of hard to find this year because some of the plant growers had some issues with some of them. And then I talked about perennials, and so we did talk about that. And so the question came up last night, and I just kind of repeat, when should the perennials be divided? Certain sources recommend dividing spring and summer blooming perennials in the fall. And so if you have perennials that are blooming probably May, June, and July, you would divide those in the fall, while other sources suggest dividing spring blooming perennials in April, May, right after the plant finishes flowering. Regardless of which method is used, dividing the plant when it is not in bloom allows all the plant energy to go to root and leaf development. And so we want to make sure that it has plenty, if you're going to be dividing perennials, that it has plenty of time to develop root so that it'll live through our unusually sometimes hard winters, especially if we have winters that we don't have any snow cover like this past one. Dividing fall blooming plants in the spring when new growth is emerging is best. During this time of the year, the weather is cool and there is usually high enough moisture in the soil for adequate root growth and development. The root system's stored energy will help the divisions recover from being cut apart and replanted. Fall divisions should be made between mid-September and mid-October, allowing for 6 weeks of root growth for plants to become established before the ground freezes. Now that I pull this off the internet, so we probably want to say from the first part of September until about the 10th of October, or even the first part of October, we want to make sure we get those fall ones divided sooner. Because of some issues with making sure that we don't have freeze up before that happens. And so there's several different ways to divide your perennials, and I will post some of this information for you on our Facebook page. Also, if you have questions, once again, you can sure call us at our extension office. We'd be glad to answer your questions for you. And we try to put something also on our webpage and our Facebook page, and so please feel free to check those out. We also have the Lawns, Garden, and Trees Facebook, and there's a bunch of us agents that post to that site very regularly. And so if you have questions about horticulture, that's the place to look, because those questions get answered by all of the experts. And the background music Jim has started. We will be back, the Morton County Extension staff, in 2 weeks to visit with you again. And we're going to be have a remote.
Yes, from camp.
Yes,
Woo-hoo.
Carla's camp will be going on in 2 weeks. And Carla's going to have some youth on. And we're going to talk about camp while Carla is at camp in 2 weeks. And so we will talk to you then.